Edition with me, Abna Tebi. Thank you for joining me and a very warm welcome to you. We are live on TV3 in Accra, also live on 3FM 92.7 and Connect 97.1 FM in Takoradi. And of course, we're streaming live on the internet at 3news.com. So the countdown is on. It's just about 45 days to the elections. So we'll be hitting the campaign trail later on in the show. But before that, we will be looking at a very important issue that has caught the attention of many, and particularly this week. But before we look at these issues, let me just say that it's good to have you with us again, and we are going to be deliberating on very important issues. So the first important issue I was talking about is commencement of payments to customers or depositors of DKM Diamond Microfinance. Now, we've experienced schemes in the financial sector that have indeed rocked the sector and the entire nation. And anytime such scandal happens, we think that would be the last. And now the script has been rehashed and given a new name, and this time it's DKM scandal. So after a long wait and many cases by the customers or depositors of DKM, commencement of payment of their refunds started this week, and a number of issues have come up. Now, to the customers and to some extent the majority of Ghanaians, there seems to be some bizarre development here. I'm talking about incidents where an investment of about 600,000 cedis is receiving a refund of about 3,500, while an investment of about 10,000 cedis is receiving nothing substantially or significantly different from that which the investor of 600,000 cedis is getting. So we are asking questions. Is there a discrepancy here, or we are not seeing the numbers as we should be seeing them? What went into the computations of these refunds to the respective customers or depositors? The panel will be weighing in on this issue to see exactly how things are panning out there and perhaps what lessons we can learn from these developments. And then we'll move on to Parliament, where Parliament this week approved a sum of 10.99 billion Ghana cedis as expenditure for the first quarter of 2017. Now, this was done in advance of appropriation under an Appropriation Act of the 2017 financial year, which would authorize the withdrawal of funds from the consolidated fund. Now, here's the thing. The December 7 elections is imminent, as we all know, about 45 days to that. And the president-elect would be sworn in, and he would have to now form his government. Now, whether NPP, NDC, CPP, independent candidate, or whoever, that government coming in would be deemed in the scheme of things to be a new government or an incoming government. So the question is, what are the implications of Parliament as currently constituted committing an incoming government or a new government to some expenditure lines for the first 3 months of 2017? These are some of the issues we'll be looking into, the dynamics playing out here. The panel again will be weighing in on this. And then, of course, we'll take a trip to the campaign trail to see what's happening there. And the President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, for the second time, is calling, or should I say challenging, the flag bearer of the NPP, Nana Addo, to a debate. He says, come, let's debate, let's set the record straight in respect of the state of the economy. You and your running mate cannot be going around misinforming the people. And the NPP, on the other hand, has said, wait a minute, Mr. President, you have about 170 questions that you have to answer. And these questions are questions that was put out, or that were put out by Dr. Mahama in his September public lecture. So the NPP says, well, answer these questions and then you can come to the table for us to talk about the debate. So the question is, to debate or not to debate? Is this a fair question or not? We'll be looking at these issues as well. And of course, we can't not ignore the multiplicity of suits coming up against the EC. Following the disqualification of the 12 presidential candidates, the EC already has 3 suits against it, and we are looking at how this development is likely to affect, or perhaps it's not even going to affect, the schedule of the elections and the electoral calendar or the election calendar at all. But we'll be looking at how these developments will play out as we move on to December 7, 2016. And of course, lastly, we'll be looking at the balloting that happened this week for presidential slots on the parliamentary ballot paper, taking positions there. It's interesting, some of the things that are going on. NDC is third place, and the interpretations being given to that, oh my goodness, it will blow your mind. Similarly, NPP is fifth position, and some interpretations being given to that as well. So we'll be looking at all these lined up for discussion. We will be going straight into the issues. We will now introduce the panel. We have here with me, Honorable Obi Amwa. He is the NPP Member of Parliament for Equipment South constituency. Next is Godwin Eduji Tamaklo. He is a member of the legal team of the NDC. We also have Mr. Richard Nyama. He's a member of the NPP communications team. And last but not least is the Honorable Murtala Mohammed, NDC MP for Nantong constituency, and also the Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry. Good morning to you, gentlemen, and good to have you with us. So we'll start off with an issue that is on the minds of many Ghanaians. The DKM scandal. Eventually, or finally, payments commenced, but we seem to have some issue with that. Customers are complaining about the amounts they're being given as refunds for their investments. And I would want us to look at this issue, perhaps looking at events leading to the situation as we have it, and then, of course, the situation as it's currently ongoing, the liquidation process and all of that. So, with events leading up to the close down of DKM and all that the issues coming up, I will start with the Honorable Obi Amwa. I mean, we've seen this playback before, Piram and other. Did we not learn our lessons, or?
Thank you so much, Abna. Good morning to you and to fellow panelists and to viewers and cherished people for Equipment South. I'm in black smoke today because on Monday I lost my women organizer. Very articulate, supportive woman. Indeed, she was the headmistress of a junior high school in Ketase and was very passionate about education. So we really bonded, but somehow just got sick overnight. By dawn, she was gone. We'll be observing the 1 week on Tuesday. So, and TV3 has lost one ardent viewer. She used to watch TV3 a lot.
Our condolences go out to the family.
Madam Helena, Sudan. Well, DKM. If you go back to DKM, it's a bizarre situation. And unfortunately, we are only talking about DKM, but there are other companies which are engaged in this. So many of them, God is Love, whatever, there's so many names. At the point, there were about 11 or so. And I remember very well that when the issues started boiling up, the president even had to wade in. And in his State of the Nation address this year, he blamed the Bank of Ghana and said that the Bank of Ghana had been very loose in monitoring microfinance companies, and that they should be, or the blame should be placed squarely at their doorstep. But went ahead to promise that if for nothing at all, the government has to step in and then make sure that the investors get at least their deposits. That's what he used. I have a copy of the State of the Nation. Later on, I will quote the exact words the president said. That was in February. So by March, the Registrar General had been appointed official liquidator of DKM in particular. And then we are told that there are about 63,000 depositors, and that they had to do forensic audit and appoint Pricewaterhouse and other legal firms to be able to go through what had happened. But at the end of the day, they said DKM was rather in the red to the tune of about 21 million Ghana cedis, and that as official liquidator, we're still looking for access, even though most of the documentation was problematic. And then we heard So the official liquidator was appointed in March. And recently we heard that 2 banks had been nominated to facilitate payments. Now what we are hearing is that already about 70 persons have lost their lives arising out of these schemes. And the fact that some depositors were hoping to get at least what they are putting. And what we are hearing is that some are receiving 10 Ghana cedis, 20 Ghana cedis for this whole thing. It's very unfortunate, even though the Bank of Ghana is supposed to be independent. Obviously, it gets to a point where the Bank of Ghana is answerable to the Ministry of Finance and to the government. So for the government to have waited for this long to say that, don't blame me, blame Bank of Ghana, and for such things to be going on, doesn't speak well of us at all. Of course, as for scams and schemes and Ponzi ones like Piram and those things, they've come and gone. But as a nation, once we have institutions monitoring some of these things, we should not allow them to get to this stage, especially when we've all agreed that the Bank of Ghana is in charge of monitoring microfinance companies. So for the DKM issue, it's still unfolding, except that what is coming out now is very bizarre. And I don't think anybody who would have put his money in would really be happy with what is going on. 10 branches, BA, Upper East, Upper West, where they were operating. And some, rightly or wrongly, believe that the government should be blamed.
That's where I'll be moving on next with, and I'll move on to Honorable Mutala. Is it a situation where, and thank you, Honorable Obi, is it a situation about the regulatory framework or perhaps the legal regime or the enforcement of whatever framework we have that is causing or that has caused this?
Well, good morning, and good morning to colleague panelists and the good people of Nanton constituency. And permit me to also mourn with my senior colleague. I know how it feels, particularly when you lose a hard-working member of your constituents. I lost the wife to my youth organizer, and I know how impactful it was, and more so, someone who I believe was a mother. I tell people that when you lose your father, you don't feel it much than when you lose your mom. I lost my dad when I was in the university my first year. As a young boy, a young man at that time, I should have felt it so deep. I was worried profoundly because it happened at a time when I was even writing my exams. But trust me, when I lost my mom, I wept uncontrollably, you know, and to the extent that, so I can understand how it feels. So our condolences to the bereaved family and then the Honorable Minister and the constituents. Well, I don't see why desperately we want to tie politics with this. I mean, this is not the first time we have experienced this unfortunate incident. And I feel for those who genuinely went in to invest, because everybody, if you are investing, you're investing with one objective: you minimize cost and maximize profit. It doesn't matter how outrageous the profit for which your investment is going to yield. I have listened to a lot of commentary. People say, no, they should have known that it was a scam. People say, no, we have had such experiences in the past before, and therefore no one should have allowed himself to be lured into it. But I disagree. If I sit down and I know that there is an investment and that particular company is making a lot of dividends, I really would want to get into the responsibility of Bank of Ghana to monitor and regulate the activities of those who operate such financial. Is the responsibility of Bank of Ghana. So in one breath, we can't be saying that yes, that is Bank of Ghana, and another breath we say no. Bank of Ghana, the governor of Bank of Ghana, sometimes is answerable to the Minister of Finance. And by extension, government should have known. It would be extremely unfair, extremely difficult. For government to make such intervention, for me, is a welcoming news. And anytime you have such, and there is a liquidator for which people are supposed to be compensated, they certainly can't get the amount of money that they invested. They certainly cannot get that, because you are looking at how much is left with that company, and then you are looking at all those who the company owes. How are you going to, divide it proportionally, depending on how much you invested? It's unfortunate. I listen to news. Some have made commentary, okay, I invested about 30,000 Ghana cedis. When I went, I was given 3,500. It's sad. And our hearts go for those people. For me, it is also a lesson that all of us must learn, that even if Bank of Ghana failed to do what they were supposed to do, we also need to be very careful the kind of investment we get ourselves engaged in. So I think that the process has begun. You can't have everybody satisfied with the kind of compensations that they are going to get. Whatever be the case, at least there will be some level of understanding, there will be some level of appreciation that something is being done. It would have been extremely reckless if government never intervened. It would have been extremely reckless if government sat aloof and says, okay, you went in and made your investment with a private entity.
So government intervention was exactly what?
Government intervention was to ensure that there is a private liquidator and ensure that the state agency, in this case the Bank of Ghana, acts appropriately. That is how far government can go. And that is precisely what government has done. Even if you have a private entity where people have invested or even have shares in that company, and that company runs into a bankruptcy or that company defaulted in one way or the other, of course, these are some of the steps that would have to be taken. But you see, it was monumental. You are talking about thousands of people who made investment. Now you're also talking about people who made investment and actually reap benefits. There were people who invested, got the benefits, and probably never invested. Others got, and it encouraged them to do more.
On the other side, you'd have people speaking well as to how they've made lots of money from this.
Whatever the case is, it was a scam. And like I said, all of us as a people must learn huge lessons from this. Piram, I remember at that time, when some of us were very young, a lot of people were rushing into it. People had to even sell their houses to invest in Piram because they felt that, oh, I'll make a lot of money and I can build about 2 or 3 of the house that I am selling. We all must learn a lesson. And I think that the acts of monitoring and supervision of Bank of Ghana and other state agencies who are clothed with those responsibilities must be effective and working.
Great. I just want to pick up on something you said, that government was to ensure that the Bank of Ghana was to act appropriately. In this situation as we have it, how is the Bank of Ghana to act appropriately?
Well, all those financial institutions, the regulatory
So in terms of moving forward.
Exactly. The regulatory authority lies on Bank of Ghana, over all financial institutions that operate. The question then is, what happened? Didn't the monitoring team of the Bank of Ghana realize that something was unusual?
Exactly. That was what I was asking. Yes. Is it a question about the kind of laws we have, so the legal regime, or is the enforcement of what we have?
Look, I have always said, and even yesterday, was it yesterday, myself and my senior colleague in Parliament, we had some debate on some issues about already existing laws. But I realized that the argument was, we have existing laws, let's ensure that those laws, are enforced. But the question, I think it was about this honorable, it was about this land reforms. No, aside even land reform, there was another case on this patent right, of the intellectual property of musicians and others who compose songs. But the question then is, we already have laws. In everything that happens in this country, you would realize that there will be existing laws. Our inability to implement or enforce them, for me sometimes, that is where the problem is. And those bodies, such as Bank of Ghana, who have the mandate and responsibility to regulate, supervise the conduct of such financial institutions, needs to be up and doing. And I guess what His Excellency the President said in Parliament was just to say that, look, you have a responsibility. You need to ensure that those things are working. President says that he may not know what exactly pertains at the bank. It's not everything that the governor of Bank of Ghana would have to report to the Minister of Finance when they have already a body that is tasked with the responsibility. Unfortunately, we often have this knee-jerk response that we wait when problems,
Yes, happen, and then we come But that leads me to a logical question. I'll move on to Richard here. So, what is to be done to the regulator? What can we do? Honorable is just saying here, we need to make sure that the bodies or the agencies, in place to ensure these things are done, are up and doing. So when they are in clear breach of their duties, what is to be done?
Good morning. Thanks for having me on your program. Let me say good morning to my constituency, Bandai, and thank them for the reception they gave us when we visited with Dr. Baumia a couple of days ago.
When you say your constituency, am I getting that you're an honorable member?
No.
Okay, I just
My
wanted to be sure
constituency,
because I didn't introduce you as such.
That's where I
A
hail
seed
from.
will just certainly take this time.
I hail from there. That's
All
just
right.
about it.
Cool.
Yes.
Exactly. I just needed to be, yes. Okay, carry on.
Anyway, this issue of Ponzi schemes seriously is usually symptomatic of the economic times in which we are. And it mostly thrives when the economy is difficult, it's challenging, the microfinance environment is weak. That is when these things thrive, because there isn't much money in the system, business is not doing well, and so most people sitting by the little they get, they want to make the quickest money they can out of it.
So you don't see this happening in a well-functioning economy, perhaps?
Oh, the well-functioning, look, Ponzi is just a bit of a background. Charles Ponzi was an Italian who migrated to the US, and the whole concept of this is named after him because he virtually started it on a bigger scale, and it simply means taking someone's money and paying to the other person and making them believe that there's a lot of profit, and then they will keep investing.
Exactly. In relation to what you said about the kind of economy, because you're looking at the origination or of the whole thing, and it's coming from a certain kind of economy, which
yes, but you see, when it did happen, the U.S. economy then in the 19th century had its challenges, and I'm saying that currently we have a challenge economically, and we must admit that it thrives when we have such an environment. Go back, the next one you mentioned is which one? Piram. If you can remember very well the days of Piram, how difficult this economy was. It is there, and so we would have to accept that when you have the system stifled financially, people become gullible and are likely to fall prey to these things. Now the question is, what should happen to the regulator? Yes, Bank of Ghana obviously reneged on its responsibilities. When the issue came up, a lot of questions came. What was the Bank of Ghana's monitoring wing doing all this while? Because these were institutions that were actually advertising on radio and TV as to the margins of profit that were coming in. And I'm surprised that the monitoring wing did not go into the books of these companies, the Goddess Love and all of them, to know exactly how they are operating, especially on the backdrop of Piram and all the other schemes that had already happened. You should see a Ponzi when it is unfolding. If the Bank of Ghana's monitoring wing was unable to identify it, then it means they have a problem. And so they should start fixing it from there. But then I would also expect that there's some sort of sanction. I don't know if Parliament could have been doing that, honorables. I think it's left to you guys. But what I would have expected to see the governor of Bank of Ghana come and answer some questions on how this thing thrived, got this bad. 3,000 people, a lot of people are losing their lives as a result. And you know what? Churches, companies, individual people doing their petty trading, others farming, cocoa, cashew and all that, just gathered their funds and gave to an individual because there was a huge profit margin. There was the issue of the government's role, and I think we'll get time to go into all those things. But there's a direct correlation between the government and this particular scheme, in this particular instance. And because if you ask the gentleman,
how is that possible? Because this is a company that is set up to run its business, clearly independent of government. So how is government's role in there? And I mean, if in the absence of concrete evidence, I wouldn't want us to...
No, I'm going to give you some concrete evidence. The gentleman in question leading this company was arrested. He was put behind bars in the BNI. What has become of him? Okay, I'll tell you what has become of him. He's a free working man. And why is it so? He's a card-bearing member of the NDC.
I mean, I think that is a
Hold
bit,
on, no.
that is a bit far-fetched. No,
You asked
we
the question.
cannot. No, but
I'm
I said
saying that the gentleman
we
is a
cannot be
card.
making
No,
such.
it's not an
We cannot
issue
be
in dispute.
making such
It's not
wild.
in dispute. Well,
let's
I'm
go
saying
back
the
to
gentleman
yes.
is a card-bearing member of the NDC.
So-
And you know what? Some also
Yes.
is that in
There's
dispute?
nothing you
Wait,
say.
Now,
yes.
the question is, when he was actually taking some of the monies of DKM and going to invest or do roads in the Upper West region with the intention of contesting, please.
Richard, no,
It is very-
I mean, for now,
Abna, it
I
is
don't,
very
you don't have
easy.
anything to verify what you're saying, and I wouldn't want that.
Can I give you the
to
stretch
go.
of roads that
No,
he was
but that
making with the
wouldn't
money
still
of
verify
DKM?
anything.
allow
I'm
him to
sorry.
make
No,
those
no, no, no.
points.
I don't want to encourage
No, allow
those
him
kinds
to
of.
make those points.
I think we are having a very
No, I think
good.
I'm being
No, you're not being
I think
gagged.
you can allow him.
Allow him
Just
to make
that you
those
put
points.
him
We'll
under
give a
strict
series of
proof.
Then,
examples.
and I'm not in a
Yes.
position to do
No,
that
you want
because
me
he
to
doesn't
give
have
you
it.
his NDC card?
Not that.
Or what do you
Not
want
that.
as...
Please carry on, but
Yes.
please,
Look, you see, when
don't
you
be
even
so
have-
wild
look,
with
no,
your
I'm not being wild here.
allegations here,
I
because-
think,
That's
I think you are indicting me, and I wouldn't have
He
that.
said he has the
I'm
membership.
saying-
Let's
No,
even
let
provide
me
them.
just wait a minute. Yes.
I'm saying that. I'm saying that the
we are all
gentleman,
here.
the
Yes,
gentleman
I
is
will
a
come to you.
card-bearing member of the NDC. Okay, there's a stretch of road. What do we call it? The Jrapa. No, when you're going into the Burkina Faso
I think
portion.
under this
Hold on.
circumstance, you may proceed.
Hold on.
The
The
kind of
gentleman,
witness you have.
please.
No, just a minute. No,
come on,
Tamaklo, please allow him.
come on,
No, no,
Richard,
Richard.
look,
Richard,
like
carry on.
I-
No,
I-
don't worry,
Tamaklo,
Richard.
please.
I'm here
Otherwise,
moderating
I-
it. No, no,
You see,
Tamaklo, please.
it'll get to your turn,
Yes.
and then
Oh,
you'll
we'll get
have
to
a
him.
chance
Like
to. So,
that.
please. No, I wouldn't take the interjection. Point is this: the gentleman is a card-bearing member of the NDC. He took some of the monies and was investing in a constituency in the Upper West region with the intention of standing as a candidate.
With the
of
intention.
Please, yes.
And you know the intention.
Honorable,
Hold
please.
on, hold on,
Yeah.
hold on.
Yes, Richard.
At the end of the day, all that is happening, he's being protected because the states.
No,
Hold
honestly,
on,
Richard,
hold on,
I will
hold
have
on.
to end it. You
Okay.
can, I can't allow
All right.
that. No.
Now,
We'll
okay,
be moving on. We need to have constructive.
all right,
This is
all
a very
right.
important issue. I don't want
It's a very
any
important issue because it is a political
wild
issue. It
allegations
is not
here
a wild
when
alleg-
we don't
Look,
have
when you even
the
have
evidence.
the government itself involved in Ponzi schemes, you can't say that it's a
Exactly.
wild
Until I have
allegation.
the evidence,
Which
we
schemes?
can carry
Oh.
on. But otherwise,
Abna,
please wrap up on
Abna,
it and then
okay,
we'll move on. Yes.
I'm going to give you an example of the government. In actual
No,
fact,
we
two.
don't need that one.
Abna,
We are looking at
Abna,
how
Abna,
the Bank
please.
of Ghana.
That if he can back it, then
I can back it, yes.
Exactly.
And I'm saying that, look, currently, we went and took a Chinese loan of, we wanted a Chinese loan of $1.5 billion to do our infrastructure.
You mean the 3 billion?
It wasn't even 1.5 billion.
Oh.
Please allow him. Carry on.
Are you done?
It wasn't 1.5 billion.
Honorable, please.
We're just helping you.
Tell us.
Richard, carry on.
You are putting
Whatever
out-
it is,
You don't even know
hold
the
on,
figure.
hold on.
Okay,
hold
you
on.
carry on.
Look, Mutala, you know, I can be very nasty. So
What
please,
nasty?
let's.
When you
let's-
sit
let's-
here and then you peddle falsehood, you tell me you can be nasty.
No,
You
no,
can't be
no, no.
nasty.
Please.
Don't tell
Please,
me
let's
that.
not do
You
that,
don't tell me
please,
that you can be
please,
nasty.
please.
You are talking and I'm
We are
telling you
moving
you're
on.
talking 1.5 billion. You
No,
turn
no, no.
around
I
and tell me
think
you
we
can be
need to
nasty.
take a break
I
now
can be
and
nasty.
then we will come back. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. You're watching New Day Saturday edition.
It's not 1.5.
Some few messages and then Richard will round up on what he was saying earlier. Good morning, Abna. I'm Kofi Kwating from Adringano. He says it's so sad that an institution like the Bank of Ghana will sit aloof and let a microfinance company dupe the poor Ghanaian in such a manner. We indeed need a strong institution in this country. But my questions are, why payment this time? Where's the money coming from? And why always in the era of the NDC that we see these things? God is watching. The DKM issue is an unfortunate issue, but thank God the government is helping out. But we need to learn from it because not all that glitters is gold. This is Aram in Adenta News Site. Good morning. In a country where our leaders always say they will create jobs, forgetting that when they employ people, it takes a year or 2 or 3 before they pay them their salaries. About 1,500 NADMO officers are yet to receive their salary arrears for 2 to 3 years. The Chief of Staff was petitioned, but till now he has not responded. We are really suffering, and we will show them our powers through our thumbs come this December 7th. This is Mumuni of Nima. Another one saying, please ask the politicians to stop giving DKM victims false hopes. Tell them the truth. They gambled and lost. Silas Owusu-Sechere from Kumasi saying, what at all did the DKM victims do to the extent that people are dying? Mr. President, kindly pay DKM customers what they are due. And last one we'll take from here, saying, good initiative for the government to intervene, but next time the Bank of Ghana should act appropriately. No need to politicize this saga. This is Hafiz in Abeka. So Richard, can you wrap up for us and then we move on? Yes.
I would walk away from.
Very well.
To make you happy.
No. You could
Okay. Please proceed.
The point is, the Bank of Ghana and the monitoring wing especially needs to be questioned. And I would be glad if we had the governor answering some questions to Ghanaians as to how this happened. And then what measures, as the financial supervisor of this economy, they are putting in place to ensure it never happens again. Because in other jurisdictions, when it happens, you learn from the features and characteristics of it, and then you put in systems in place to that to the effect that anytime it rears its ugly head, it's nipped in the bud. It's happened to us, it's happening, and then it looks like it will happen again. Look, it is the state's duty to protect us as citizens. Who doesn't want quick cash? We may all, one way or the other, fall victim to it if given the opportunity. But if the state has its structures properly put in place, we will not have it happening again. But there's a question to the president. On what foot was he standing when he promised that he would ensure at least the deposits were paid, when he said that in February?
Very well.
Because that is not the case. And immediately this thing happened. I'm sure this law has since been passed in Parliament, and it was to the effect that if you have invested up to $1 million or so, it looks like the highest you will get is 3,000 Ghana cedis in return.
Is there any such
no. There was something being discussed. It wasn't in Parliament.
So
it's the liquidator that was making that point. So you imagine that I lose $1 million Ghana cedis and I have in return
a refund
of 3,000.
Yes.
So what the president probably talked too early, and there was the need for him to have probably consulted all those involved before promising what he promised on the floor of Parliament.
Very well.
Did he say on the floor of Parliament that he would ensure that at least they get their deposit? He never said that in Parliament.
But,
no, but it's in the,
yes, we will. I think that statement is there. We can easily verify it. So we will check that.
It is.
Yes.
No, but
we will verify it.
Making specific statements.
No, we'll verify it. Not to worry.
No, but if the document is before Parliament,
we will verify it before we close this program. So not to worry.
Hold on. He doesn't have to physically.
Yes, the question is.
It's not within your right to actually ask questions.
No, Richard, I'm allowing him. Yes, please. What's the question?
No, I'm not asking. I'm saying.
What's the question?
He made a specific statement, emphatic, that His Excellency the President stood on the floor of Parliament and said that he was going to make sure that they get at least deposit. And I want to find out from him before Obiamwa get.
That's what I'm saying. We're moving on, but we'll verify that before we go. Richard, hold your horses. We'll move on. He wants the evidence. You don't have it here. It's something you're going to say again, and we don't move that.
No, hold on.
We're moving on.
He didn't say it on the floor of Parliament. That document.
That's what I'm saying. We'll verify that. We'll move on to Mr. Tamaklo here. Please, you've had your piece. Allow Mr. Tamaklo to make his.
If the document gets to Parliament, that is the president speaking to Parliament.
Richard,
he doesn't have to be physically.
We get your point. It's fine. Mr. Tamaklo, we're moving on. We need to. We've looked at the road leading to this whole situation. Now, Honourable, please, we are here. Same conversation here. We're moving on to look at the liquidation process as it is. A number of issues have come up. Figures, depositors are taking monies woefully inadequate relative to the investments they made and all of that. My question is this: how did the liquidator arrive at these figures? Would you know? Has the process been transparent enough? Because as the liquidator, he or she is exercising certain powers derived under statute, and it would require a certain sense of, transparency and all of that. Has the process been transparent to date?
Thank you very much, and good morning to my lady senior, Honorable Obi, and your good self, Mutala. And now it's beginning to look like Mr. Nyama will be a brother. From the
He
way,
had better be.
yes, from the way,
had
from
better
the way
be.
things are going, because I'm beginning to do a link through Inchumuru, through,
I see. Very well.
But the beautiful thing is that he's a Guan by reason of being, and then my mom is also Kratchi, so that connection
I see,
is
Kratchi
always
connection.
there.
Okay.
So, but then on a
I know.
Now, good morning to our viewers and then those listening on 3FM. I think that in answering your question, there's a more fundamental issue that ought to be tackled. The foundation of this and what the regulator has done relative to this matter. Most of these schemes started as social clubs. Now, the moment it starts with social club, it starts without regulation. So the scheme starts without the regulator informed. As you are aware today, if you want to start any bank in this country, you need to first have a license before you can even take the first, deposit. Now, in the case of these social clubs, they start as schemes because, you see, in the past, the Grameen Bank in Thailand had come up with a scheme that allowed farmers to come together. Now, with those farmers coming together, whatever money is given to them or is deposited is given to one at one end. Another month, it is taken as a pool given to another person. Now, in this case, you have a situation where these microfinance companies were promising 50%, 35% interest rate. Now, any serious person, and I'm making this point because, you see, I have noticed that there's what you call lack of financial literacy in this country, which we need to look at, because we have almost 54% of our people still unbanked. They are not within the traditional banking system. So anybody trying to be smart can reach out to this 54% unbanked society by coming up with these, very, very sweet, schemes.
But that's why you have a regulator.
No, so I'm coming there. But you see, the market is always ahead of the regulator. That is why in 2007, in the middle of the U.S. financial crisis, it was not as though there were no laws in the United States of America. When Bernard Madoff caused almost $150 billion worth of loss, people's pensions, savings, and others, it was not as though there were no laws in the United States of America. Even in the most advanced economies, where you have all the beautiful laws, because the market is always ahead and the regulator is always trying to catch up with the market, you have some of these schemes springing up. For me, in all of this, what we need to be asking is, what measures have we put in place today that tomorrow will not wake up to see this scheme?
We'll go there. I mean, that is an area we'll definitely touch on.
Now, on the question of, yes. Now, what you should know is that when you have, in this case, the official liquidator coming in, what he does is that he picks the assets of the company under liquidation, run it against the liabilities of the company. Now, in this case, the unfortunate thing is that DKM and others were overexposed. That is to say, their liabilities were more and more than their assets. So what you need to do is to try to blend these assets against the liabilities in order to reach out to these customers. So you have a situation where, for instance, DKM takes almost 600,000 Ghana cedis from one customer with a promise that maybe they'll go and buy treasury bills. But you see, if you go and buy treasury bills, by DKM, from government of Ghana will give you 22. So you are making a loss. But listen, the reason why you have this situation is that, one, the liquidator under the law is supposed to also fall on experts. Now, the experts here may be, say, PricewaterhouseCoopers,
to collate the number of persons that is a debtors
Okay,
of
so,
DKM.
yes.
That has been done.
Great.
So that's part of the transparency process. I'm
So
coming there.
okay,
Now,
so
once
let's
you take-
fast forward it then. How much was realized from the assets that were not for, you know, there'll be the secured creditors who would definitely have their right to the securities they have charged and all. And then you would now have the assets that have not been charged to now liquidate and all. So question is, how much, do we even know how much was realized from the liquidation of those assets?
What we know is that as we speak, the PricewaterhouseCoopers, together with the official liquidator, were able to at least vet 93,000 people. Now,
Those are the depositors.
Yes. So I'm coming to how much was realized. Now, in all of this, remember that you need to, and it's a process. As we can't say that we have ended with it.
Yeah, but
Because-
once payments
hold
have
on,
started,
hold
it
on.
means there's been a decision as to how we're going to make payments.
Yes.
Because this discrepancy for me
No,
is
it's
quite
not- it's not a
worrying.
discrepancy.
That
It's not.
somebody, for instance, is invested 600,000 and is taken 3,500
No,
cedis.
now,
And somebody
no, get it
invested
this way.
10,000 is also taken, say, 2,500. It's just a difference of 1,000. And see the investments, the
what
gap
you do,
in
no,
there.
what you do
What
with this, no,
informed-
what you do with this kind of thing is that you do thresholds, so that you can say that those who deposited from 1,000 to 10,000, you fall within.
That would
this
be good. Is
category.
that information out there?
If you invested above 10,000, you'll be entitled to say 3,500, irrespective of the money.
That would be useful information. Is it out there?
You understand? But you see, I
you're
think
not
that
answering my question. Is
but
it
you
out
see,
there?
No, some of these things you don't have a yes or no answer to.
No, but we should, because see, let me
Because-
refer to, and for me, these things you do,
I know,
you
the
refer
powers
to
of the
law.
liquidator.
Exactly, the powers of the liquidator, among many other things, to pay any classes of creditors in full. So ideally, that's what you're to do, in full. But when you don't have the wherewithal to do that, then to compromise all calls and liabilities, debts and liabilities capable of resulting in debts or claims present, basically there needs to be that consultation with the depositors. Did that happen for me? And that's
No,
what
when
should
you
happen.
say- when
Because
you
if
say
it
consultation-
did, the depositors will not be raising
hold
issues
on,
as they are
When
raising
we
now,
say
would they?
consultation, I want to understand you to be saying that consulting the 93,000.
Exactly.
In what form should the consultation take place?
They have a leadership, or
Good.
just let's meet, let's decide how we're going to do this. But clearly, the feedback we're
No, but
getting
you see,
from
under this circumstance, you cannot get, for instance, somebody who had deposited 600,000 to be agreeing with somebody who paid 1,000 on how much should be paid.
All I'm
You can
saying
never.
is let
That is why-
them.
We are not even too sure whether that was done.
That's the
As-
question.
No,
Whether that was
the
done.
point I'm even making is that under no circumstance you get a compromise between 1,000 person, somebody who deposited 1,000.
But that doesn't
and
mean you
another
don't comply with the law.
No, the law has been under this circumstance. There's no evidence whatsoever
Whether
to
they
prove
do
the
it.
contrary.
And that's why I'm saying that transparency is an issue with how the liquidation
when-
process is going
when
on.
you
And
have
for
a
me, it's
process
quite
where you
worrying.
involve,
What she's saying is
Okay,
that
now,
she
yes.
wants to find out, as we sit here, we can't say with certainty whether indeed there was some consultation or not. Per the law, there ought to be some consultation.
That kind of
I want to believe.
I remember
Yes.
the liquidator
Yeah.
going to Sunyani,
Okay.
going to Bolga, meeting the leadership of the
Oh, okay.
people.
Then it
so
means
there
that
has
there was
been this
consultation,
broad
yeah.
base, because you cannot
Wait.
just stand up and say you are going. Even
Yeah.
how to vet.
Even get the names and everything.
Customers and everything were assisted by the leadership.
So why
of this
would
group.
the
because most of
depositors
these
now
groups were social clubs.
be complaining about the amounts they receive?
No, I think it boils down to the same point: financial literacy. To what extent was the consultation done? Indeed, if there was some consultation, I want to believe there was, because if they went,
No,
and
you
if they
cannot
went,
just go
that's what
and
I'm
take
saying.
up, you know.
Maybe probably people needed to have appreciated the fact that you can't get everything, and I can also understand sometimes the limitations. If the monies involved were so huge, now everything is gone. How much is left with the company? How much
Yes.
is left? And if this much is left, how much are they going to work it outside that
Exactly.
every person would get?
Every
And I think
class
that
of credit
yes,
But you
Except
see,
for now,
at
yes,
this
come around
juncture,
that
you
point.
agree with me that there's no way, looking at the liability, and you see the unfortunate problem in the DKM scenario is that you have a situation where the person takes the money, possibly buy trucks or transport service. If today, by reason of desperation, you want to sell off those assets. You cannot get it at its market value.
Of course.
So you get it at knockdown prices.
We
So
get
at
all
the
of
end,
that.
you realize monies that are far
Totally, we
below
get it. So yes,
what?
you've done
So-
all of that. Now
so
you have
I'm
X
not sure.
amount.
I'm not sure there was any expectation with respect that the person who gave 600,000
Must get
was going to receive 600,000.
Of course not.
Well, the
Honorable,
major-
yes.
well, the major
So you
problem-
realized X amount. How are you going to distribute that X
problem-
amount amongst?
The major problem is lack of communication. That's a major problem. Even for a depositor, if he knew by traveling all the way to the place he was going to get 10 cedis, he wouldn't have gone at all.
Probably, exactly.
But if you ask all of them to come for your money, he goes with a certain expectation.
Yeah, sure.
That at least my
Yes.
deposit will be paid to me. So in the first place, everything that we are doing is very wrong. I remember very well that when the then governor Wampa came to Parliament in March, after the President's State of the Nation address, he was trying to also defend himself against what the President had said, that all the blame should be put on the governor. But here is a situation where you have about 500 microfinance institutions, and we don't seem to have any way of checking them, monitoring them, applying the law. So everybody is doing his own thing. Indeed, we are getting to elections, so obviously some of these things will not be assessed objectively. But whatever the case, there should be a commission of inquiry on this matter. We can't be going on this way. Otherwise, you think you've solved the problem. People every day,
Then it will-
microfinance companies are
And senior, if you recall, even in
springing
Ghana,
up.
you know that we started the issue of mobile money
Yes.
with the various telcos before legislation.
yes.
So one day we wake up and one telco had filed for bankruptcy, and all the monies you have in your
We
mobile
have
money
the whole
is
Bank
gone.
of Ghana.
So
Honorable,
it's-
please,
it's-
let him land and then yes.
We have a Bank of Ghana. You're supposed to have some independence. But if this is how they are running the system, then we really
We'll
need
hold
to
them on a
check.
short
Government
leash.
to come in.
Yes, obviously there are two bills which were put before Parliament. I don't think these bills would even be go to
protection of
protection.
depositors.
A very brief.
Yes,
I think
Honourable.
that there is another aspect of all this debate that we haven't looked at. We are talking about DKM because people have been defrauded. The numerous financial institutions that are springing up, and the fact that they charge interest rate that is way higher than even the accepted and regulated interest rate, and the fact that they exploit people, we seem not to be looking at them. There are instances people would go, take loan. I know a footballer in this country, a very known footballer, who had to go for a loan from these financial institutions using his house as a collateral, house that the parents were living in. I was shocked.
They took over.
Yes, they took over, and the guy had to struggle to find somewhere to put the father and the mother. And I think that we need to look at, and for me, Honorable, it comes back to we as members of Parliament. We have a huge responsibility. And
And
I'm
of
just
course,
looking
the
forward.
regulators' role
Yes.
to do.
I'm
Bank
looking
of
forward.
Ghana-
I'm
Bank
looking
of
forward.
Ghana
I'm
has-
looking forward
has
into
really-
partnering
Let
my
me
senior
take some
colleague.
messages
The Bank of
and
Ghana
then
has
let me
really-
take some messages
Bank
and
of Ghana
then
has really messed
Honourable.
up.
Yes.
Two, our laws need to be changed.
Yeah.
For instance, you have a
Honourable, please let
situation
me
where
take some messages and then I'll
I'll
come back
come
to
back
wrap
to
up
you.
on this conversation and we'll move on to the others. This one is coming from Alikali Kuna in Sandema. He says the government is to be blamed for the DKM woes because governments gave the assurance that everyone will get their deposits. But that assurance came after the issue had happened, so I wonder how government is to be blamed. But anyways, please tell your panelists to educate us on this DKM issue because some of us can't understand it. This is Emmanuel in Odomase. This came in at 7:41. I'm sure you've been educated at this point, given the discourse that has gone on. Abna, it's very unfair for anybody to blame government for this issue. I am also a victim, and I can say on authority that no government official came to me and asked me to put my money there. So we should put down our political lenses and discuss it dispassionately. This is Amadou in Tamale. Another one, Ibrahim from Medina says, I strongly disagree with the NPP man that DKM boss is a member of NDC. If he has evidence, he should immediately go to court. That's to you, Richard.
Now what?
I am Jeffrey in
Produce a
Bolga
card of DKM.
says the
Well, that
DKM
shouldn't be
situation
difficult.
in Bolga is very bad. Customers were given only 10 cedis. They used to open their account no matter how much you invested. And says another one says it is true that the DKM man. Okay, I'm sorry, I can't read this because we cannot verify that. Abna, I am shocked why the concentration has only been on DKM. What about the others like God is Love, Jester Motors, Little Drops, etc.? people's investments in those companies are more than that of the DKM. Please talk about those companies too. Indeed, I think we brought that also up, that there are a number of microfinance companies going on like that. Abna, I feel the monies being paid to the DKM victims is a slap in the face. How can you pay someone 10 Ghana cedis? And this is from Kofi Asiedu in Kumasi. Honorable Minister and his government should be up and doing, otherwise they must go. This is Kobe from Nungwa. And this is to you, Richard. Richard Yama is doing politics and not speaking to the matter. I mean, why are you being on Richard's case this morning? Anyways, yes, Honorable, please wrap up on that and then we'll move on to...
the Bank of Ghana Act, for instance, I noticed that beyond passing the act, every action that the bank had to take, they didn't need parliamentary approval. So just by notice and guidelines, you see Bank of Ghana publishing every day what microfinance institutions are supposed to do, their requirements, etc. Some of these things, we've given the Bank of Ghana so much laxity to the extent that they think nobody should be able to check them. And if this is the mess that they put us in, then we have to sit back and agree that there should be some checks on the way they operate. Because every day microfinance institutions are springing up, and you wait for them to do people before you come back. Then why do you exist?
Great. Honorable, yes, we're wrapping up. Let me have Honorable and then we come to you.
I agree.
Do you agree with yes?
I agree. It has to do with our laws. I stand to be corrected. My understanding is that you can't even discuss Bank of England in the British Parliament. You can't. And I think that the wholesale lifting of some of the laws from our so-called colonial masters itself has. I think that we have had series of experiences that calls for
how we move forward.
For a reform of that law. I think that it's so nebulous, open-ended authority, that once those laws are passed, go and determine what you want to do at any point in time, with the assumption that you would do things right. And I think that we have been relying on those assumptions and the occasion some of these challenges that we go through. I think there is every justification now that we need to take a second look at the law regulating the conduct of Bank of Ghana and the leadership of Bank of Ghana. I believe that in doing that, people will not say that politicians are interfering into financial matters, because we've had experiences, and I don't think that laws are meant to regulate. I mean,
we are supposed to develop
them. They are not. I mean, laws are meant to serve a purpose. But if you realize that the purpose for which those laws were made is not, achieving, we need to take a second look at it.
Richard, wrap up on that and then.
The governor to Parliament. We brought him to Parliament, even though it was just committee of the whole.
This
It
issue
wasn't
is
open to the public.
likely down to
It
the
came to
monitoring wing of the Bank of Ghana. And you see, sometimes I'm pained when we have so many young men unemployed in this country. Virtually now the microfinances are like corner shops. Everywhere you turn, they are there. And they operate from their bedrooms and all that. For me, if your monitoring department is very strong, you should have people who are well trained on the ground, checking people day in, day out, penalizing them. That is how you would pay these people. And yet we sit down, we are crying unemployment. The employment opportunities are there. The institutions are not building capacity to take advantage of it. And then we all sit down, we are relying on government. Two, Mutala was bringing this issue of the interest rates. And it's also down to the monitoring.
Exactly.
Because, look, currently, officially, it's 35% per annum, right? And these institutions will be making about 200% per annum because they charge you per month, 10%, 15% per month. And unfortunately, the economic system is so bad. There's no money in the system. So people are so desperate. Like he gave the example, you go and virtually give your father and mother away to a microfinance. And take the money, and then they will take it over. So we need a very strong department for monitoring, to ensure that people are working.
Sure. I think that there's a more fundamental issue that we are not dealing with.
Tell us.
That fundamental issue for me is that the moment somebody comes to you and begin to offer you interest rate, beyond a certain threshold, what you should know is that if you commit to it, you are buying a risk. So if you win, it's like lottery. If you win, you go home. If you lose, you come down. These are the most fundamental. And I think that the Bank of Ghana's department that should be dealing with financial literacy should up its game. Because you see, you cannot legislate everything. You cannot legislate every aspect of human behavior. But people are making decisions every day. And those decisions are informed by what? The gain or incentive. And the bigger incentive here is interest rate. Yeah. So that interest rate does not necessarily need to be regularized. But the problem here is that these microfinance are not the traditional microfinance institutions. They are social clubs. Under the guise of that. They come under social clubs.
Some have been given provisional licenses.
Yes, no. You know what they do.
I recognize that by Bank of Ghana.
What they do is that they start as social clubs, then buy respectability using provisional license. By that time, they become overexposed. By reason of what?
But if you were overcapitalization,
I think exactly.
By the time you give them the license, you realize their level of exposure.
I know a traditional bank in this country. Bank of Ghana monitors it, everything. It started opening branches along the length and breadth of this country. Remember that the more branches you are opening, you are using people's deposit to put up these branches. What it does is that you are putting more liquid cash into non-liquid assets. How then do you recover if today there is a run on the bank? So you see for the bank.
What would the Bank of Ghana be doing?
Hold on. So that is what I'm saying. As we speak, the ultimate end is that this bank would have to cooperate.
And the danger,
and the danger we should all face is that, and we should have this thing. Everybody should know that the moment somebody is giving you an interest rate beyond something, know that you are buying lottery.
Very well. We will be moving on. Yes, we'll be moving on.
I think that it is apparent, and we've all agreed that there is a problem with the monitoring of banks. But you see, there is one thing that we haven't been talking about, and I was happy when Honorable Obi Amwa, raised an issue of that. You go to even the traditional banks, the over-exploitation of young people. They employ them, they said, on contract. Some of them have been on contract for 10 years. All the banks, all the traditional financial institutions. And I think that something ought to be done about it. They employ them. They say, we're employing you on contract. The person is on contract. The person takes 500 Ghana cedis a month. And they will keep the person on contract for 10 years, 5 years, 6 years. It's absolutely unacceptable.
That's very important. But we need to
They are unwilling to regulate them. I'm saying that no.
So the freedom to control.
Please, what I'm saying.
Times are hard. People want
they are unwilling. You see, the problem is that they are unwilling to take those people, and it's not fair.
No, that one I agree.
We're moving to Parliament.
People.
Thank you for your views on that. I'm sure we'll have an opportunity to discuss that, but now we're moving on to topic number 2 outline. Another very important issue. Parliament approves first quarter expenditure of 2017, and we're looking at the implications of that. So, on Thursday, the 20th of October, Parliament approved a sum of 10.99 billion cedis to finance what was described as essential and statutory government expenditure for the first quarter of 2017. And we'll be looking at this. For me, yes, this was done pursuant to Article 180 of the Constitution. I just want to know what constitutes the critical government expenditure for which we are committing this amount for the first 3 months of next year. And I will turn to you, Honourable.
Well, first and foremost, I think that this is one of the issues that when it came out in Parliament, even though we debated, but everybody agrees that it's not an NDC or MPP thing. Whoever wins the elections, government machinery must actually run. Now, if you don't have that, it can be changed. Depending on you win the election, you need to submit a proper budget.
Exactly.
But however, you can't live in a vacuum. There must be something that would determine how the machinery of government. Because it doesn't matter whether we have elections or not. The machinery, the wheels of government must keep on running. And I think that these are some of the issues. It borders on a whole lot of. One can even say that, more or less, quote and unquote, you can say maybe a pseudo budget, to take care of that vacuum that will be created, because you have elections in December, and then by the time His Excellency the President is sworn in, you have government that is run, but that government must begin transitional period. The government must run, but there should be a justification. It's just like when budget is approved, and then after that you have the estimate, which will also then give government the authority to go ahead and spend. Approving budget is one thing, and the authority for you to be able to spend is another. So I see it in that light. It's something that is sine qua non to ensuring that this country doesn't,
exactly
come to a halt.
Exactly. I was interested in the provisions or the provision of 180, which says that where it appears the President that Appropriation Act in respect of any financial year will not come into operation by the beginning of that financial year, he may, with the prior approval of Parliament by resolution, authorize the withdrawal of monies from the Consolidated Fund for the purpose of meeting expenditure necessary to carry on the service of the government in respect of the period expiring 3 months. And what caught my attention here was the phrase, meeting expenditure necessary to carry on the service of government. Because in the news reports, you hear of budget lines for capital expenditure, tax refunds, and I'm thinking, is that the necessaries?
No, they are.
To facilitate.
No, they are. If you have a tax regime, or even you have loans that you need to service, and you need to service the loan, maybe let's say, I'm just giving an example, every 3 months or every 4 months, something ought to be done, or every 6 months. You can't say because we have elections, you can't go ahead and do that. You have some capital expenditures that are ongoing, they are running. That the fact that you have.
But those already have the budgets. I mean, for the 2016 budget till December, you have those commitments already. But moving
yes, I know. At any point in time, you have adjustment. Like government is a continuum. It doesn't matter which political party is having the opportunity to rule at any point in time. It must continue. Now, if you have certain capital expenditure, projects that you are executing, and the fact that you need to make some payments at this particular material moment, you need to do them. You can't say, okay, we have an elections, wait until such a time. You'll be bridging even the very contract for which reason those capital expenditure projects are being executed. And I think that that is the aspect with which you look at it. Maybe hitherto you just felt that, okay, government could go ahead and do ABC. There should be a regulation. There should be some determination as to how much you can take. And more so when government made it very clear that unlike the previous years where we have serious economic challenges in terms of overspending in elections year, and you realize that years after elections we always have those huge deficits. We had that in 1993 after 92 elections, we had that in 97 after the 96 election, we had that in 2001 after 2000, we had that in 2005, we had that in 2009, we had that in 2013. And I think that for me it's a bold step. The signals are very positive that government is ensuring that he maintained that financial discipline. And I think for me that argues well for all of us. I was telling my colleagues when we were having the debate, I said, are you then suggesting that the MPP will not win the elections? Because if you are opposing this, it means that you know that you are losing the elections. No, and therefore you don't even care what happens. I said, just and that was the jokes that we made. It's good for us. It's good that Parliament takes charge. It's good that there are laws governing the conduct of even the executive in terms of how much you can spend, what you can spend that money for. And for me, that is good for our democracy.
Very well. I'll come to you, Richard, but quickly, Honourable. The principle of having this Parliament currently constituted as it is, basically committing an incoming or a new government to a certain expenditure line, is that useful?
You read the relevant article. That's the Article 180.
Right.
Regarding what the President can do in terms of taking money from the Consolidated Fund with the prior approval of Parliament.
Right.
Obviously, because by 7th January, a new government would have to be in place. Whether it's existing NDC or a new MPP, which is very likely, which is most likely.
Your dreams.
But because of our system, it will be a bit difficult for the incoming government to bring in a budget just even in the first quarter. Because you have to nominate ministers, they have to go through vetting, they have to get parliamentary approval and swearing in. Probably the first quarter, you may not have a team in place. The government must run. So that's how you have a situation where estimates are made, and then appropriation will have to be made for the first quarter. But beyond that, the challenge is what goes into these estimates and appropriation. I've gone through it, and you see that compensation of employees is 3.8, goods and services 164, capital expenditure 1.2, interest payment 1.8, grants to other government units 2.3, non-road arrears 518,000, tax refunds, amortization 773. So obviously, some are statutory requirements. You've gone to borrow heavily. You're supposed to service your debts. No person will be waiting for you to swear in your government and to appoint your ministers before you start paying. So those are obvious one. Interest payment.
You have
you have to service your debts. And the amortization. You still have to even clear all the debts that you are supposed to clear by a certain time. So those are statutory ones. Then non-road arrears. Here is 5. Tax refunds. Tax refunds, you ask the question,
Even
can
what's
it
a
wait?
non-road arrears?
Arrears which are not based on contracts given to persons to construct roads. And they can be classified. But even beyond that, if you look at what we expect to come in, like the tax revenue broken down into income tax on income and property, domestic goods and services, general trade, social security, I was baffled by the fact that for social security contributions, only 60,000.
No, 60 million.
I know, only 60 million out of, let's say, the 7.2 billion that we are expecting from revenue, from tax revenue. That shows that our employment level in the formal sector is still very low. Because even in the informal sector, people are supposed to pay social security contributions once you employ persons. So I saw this figure, I was wondering that if this is the situation, then obviously, even on the face of it, the expenditure is more than the revenue. The expenditure is more than the revenue. So the deficit right away. But if you look at even the components, we can do far better than what we're doing. But what people have kept on saying is that
you are just by
if you get to your turn,
no,
don't worry, you put down your notes.
I'm just trying to.
Put down your notes.
Okay, very quiet.
It's always itching. It's always itching to respond. Put down your notes. I'll give you the document.
Okay,
I'll give it to you to interrogate it. So don't worry. But the most important thing is that we have to admit it, whether we like it or not. We have overborrowed. That's how come amortization and interest payments are so high. Because if overborrowed, if you the time you were assuming office in 2009, if the loan portfolio was 9 billion, and now you've hit 100 billion.
No, but what kind of investment? You are looking at if you invest heavily.
You want to get your time, you justify it. I'm saying that
I
say that your interest payments and amortization show that your borrowing is so high. And you should be able to convince the average person that all the money that you've borrowed, you are putting them to good use. You may say that I'm building Dubai in Accra.
Honorable, please.
There are a lot of rules in your conscience.
Honorable is on the floor, please.
Why do you like interjecting and responding as So the reality is that first 3 months, government must run. Some commitments should be made. The issue is that these are the critical commitments which should be made. The other issue which has come up is that you'll be paying employees for first 3 months, but they may not be doing so much. It's an issue that has been coming up every time in Parliament. Because we pick a ministry, you see that 80 to 90% salaries and wages. Goods and services, very small. Sometimes we were in this country when even the Ages department, when they went on strike, part of their reason was that even A4, they couldn't buy A4 to write on. So you may be paying employees, but if you don't use the money to invest in goods and services, they may be sitting there not working to the maximum. You will report to work every day, all right. By the end of the month, you have to pay him.
Which for me raises an issue, I'm sorry to cut you, Honorable, but which for me raises an issue about how governments are able to hit the ground running when they come into office.
Yes.
Because if you have a certain kind of civil service up and doing, government should necessarily be up and doing.
Yes, but for the first 3 months,
but where you
they don't have anything
high
to work with.
wage bills like that, and yet you're not getting that, and so you need to put in place certain contingency measures.
The
Then it
wages-
raises issues
The
about
wages may
the
not
kind
be
of
that high. What I'm saying is that if you compare it with goods and services for the first 3 months,
relatively
you'll be paying
better
them, but they may not get the wherewithal to work.
to work.
Because you are not investing in the goods and services. And it's so bizarre that sometimes simple things like A4 sheet, they will tell you we don't have money to buy it. And if they don't have money to buy it, they will not use their own money to buy it. It's government which has to provide it. I'm saying that every year, when budgets are submitted to Parliament, the committees will submit their reports. And the highest you have is wages and salaries. And sometimes for up to the third quarter, very little has been released for other services and goods. So they sit there, they could have worked to the highest maximum, but because of lack of goods and services or small investment in that sector.
And sometimes the
That's
attitude
very
is
But
exactly.
you are in a ministry.
God,
You
yes.
bear with me what I'm saying.
Godwin,
You-
I
you
mean,
pay them.
Honorable, you're raising a very important point here. So we are paying people,
You're paying
but not
people,
giving
but
them
if
the
you are not-
tools to work.
Yes,
and
you're not giving them tools to
I'm
work.
sure you want to comment on that, Godwin, but also generally this issue about the first quarter expenditure in 2017. What should be our concerns? I mean, of course, it's there to solve a problem. But what should be our concerns?
I think
in
that, and like my senior indicated, government of Ghana together with Parliament had passed what you call the Transition Act. So now we have a Transition Act, and then the Constitution itself allows or permits situations where, by reason of possible change of government or a transition, and you recall in the matter of J.H. Mensah versus Attorney General, even the court took the view that the moment one government ends, everything is deemed to have come to an end, and you need to start all over. So that even if you win and you are appointing the same people as your ministers, they must go back to Parliament for the same, approval process. The same thing applies to, appropriation. We should always have at the back of our mind that you cannot take one peswa, even one cedi, from the consolidated fund without parliamentary approval. So where in this case, in 2017 going forward, you need to expend, because you see, you are not going to tell the Ghanaian public servant that, you know what, we are having a transition. So hold on until the new incoming administration comes over, appoints Minister of Finance before you be paid your salary. The people you've contracted your loans, and remember as we speak, we are still servicing loans contracted several years back. You cannot tell that foreign investor that, hold on until the new Minister of Finance comes, he brings a budget to Parliament before you be paid. On the first issue of our, revenue against our expenditure, we have always run a budget that is on balance for several years, in fact, several decades. We've always had to finance the deficit. And the deficit has always been, financed using, what you call borrowing, or sometimes increasing the tax net to ensure that you can rope in more money. And that raises a more fundamental question about the manifesto the MPP launched the last time. I want to dove
A
into
bed in the forest.
yes. No, I'm dealing with it. No, hold on.
Where did it come
I'm
in?
supposed to talk about the forest.
No, you don't. You don't need to speak about it.
the bed first or the forest.
No, but the two live together. The
Public
two
manifesto.
I'm
but you
not.
see, no, you should not be lost.
Okay.
Stick to the appropriation.
You don't want me to deal with it.
Please
No,
carry on.
it's because Honorable Obi dealt with the issue of tax revenue against our expenditure. And from the narrative, you will see that we are spending about 10 billion. However, we are only making, revenue of a little over 7 billion. Where is the shortfall of almost 2 billion? How are you going to finance? Because remember that this expenditure, you are deemed to have expended that money. But how do you meet that critical
Or that
component?
perhaps you reduce your expenditure.
Now, you see, you raise a more fundamental question here. That even on goods and service, there's a complaint. And that's the question you are asking me. That how do people work if you are paying them and they do not have the tools to work with? Now you are talking about reducing what? Expenditure.
But you're not necessarily
On
going to
goods
reduce
and-
expenditure on goods and services.
No,
There
but
are
you see,
other sectors.
employment, are you now going to
It
meet
is.
workers and tell them that, you know what?
Borrow less.
Hold on.
And your tax
Tell
exemption
them,
too should go
no,
down.
tell them that
Can I give you solution?
No, so I'm
Can I
coming.
give you
Yes.
solutions?
If you
Somebody
No,
will
so
come to
that's the
invest
point I
1.5
was coming
billion.
under the
The rules in your
NPP
Okay.
You
manifesto,
can't give you
and you
solutions.
didn't want me
If
to
you want
Yes,
us to go there, we'll
please.
give you solutions.
Very well. Godwin, go on.
Somebody
Honorable,
is
we'll come to
investing
you.
1.5 billion and giving him tax exemption of 1
Honorable, we'll
billion.
come to you.
Does it make sense?
Yes, Godwin, please carry on.
Somebody will-
You ask the Minister of Rules questions about the rules in your constituency.
Yes.
Borrow less, and those rules will stop. And you
No,
would
but you
ask the
see,
Minister
no,
of
but you see,
Rules.
this
why
Godwin
is
is on the
why
floor. Allow him.
This question of borrowing.
Godwin.
This
First state of the nation address.
Godwin is on the floor.
We will review the
Allow him.
exemption regime.
Honorable.
Everybody gets
Godwin.
into this country.
Godwin is on
Tax
the floor,
waiver,
please.
tax waiver.
Okay.
Look at your exemption regime
Honorable.
and you get more money.
Honorable, please.
Somebody is bringing 1.5 billion.
Honorable.
You are giving him tax waiver of 1
Respectfully,
billion.
please. Godwin is making his points. Allow him. Godwin, carry on.
You know,
Godwin is-
It's listed here. You should be more academic than that.
there's a more
listed
fundamental
here.
question.
Honorable, please. Godwin is making his
that
points. Allow him. And then we'll go on.
as we speak, our friends are talking about reducing taxes. For instance, on the question of corporate income tax, the kind of money you take from companies on their profit, they are talking about will reduce,
Yes.
will reduce, will reduce, will reduce. Now the question is, how then do you fill in? And they speak of additional revenue from Sankofa fields, additional revenue from the Tain fields, additional revenue. You are making projections. The NDC made projections on the basis of oil revenue at $99 per barrel. Today, how much is crude going? Meanwhile, these are expenditures. You have already committed to the people. You have already promised workers that, look, my wage bill is now 10 billion. How then do you go and say now, because oil revenue is not coming, I'm no longer going to pay you? Can you imagine the chaos that will happen?
That's a
The
bit
legal,
out of
the legal
No,
side.
no,
Congress,
no. These are the more
He's
fundamental.
strong in the legal side, but very weak in the economic
No,
side.
no, no, I'm not.
He has to admit it.
No, it's not.
Honorable,
Look,
please.
once
Yes,
we
carry on.
speak now,
He has
once
to
we
admit
speak
it.
now, once we speak now.
Comrade,
Wait,
please.
Look, they know.
This
They
one
know.
is very
They know that.
initiated.
They know that.
They will accept it.
Hold
Please allow
on.
him to
They
make
know
his
that.
point,
They
yes.
know that by promising people reduction in taxes in any form.
Scrapping taxes.
Hold on.
Okay, so
People will, hold on.
Comrade,
Yes. No,
taking
no,
your
no.
time, you don't-
People will buy into it because you see, the thinking always is that people obviously would find schemes to even avoid taxes. Okay.
But there are
So the
specific
moment a
There are
party
specific areas.
hold on. The moment
If you
a
want
party
to quote well,
Honorable,
this is
please.
it.
I've seen it.
It's
I
here.
thought
Read
I've
them.
seen it.
Where
Why are
is
you
it? Where is
interrupting?
it?
Allah, you
What
have the
approach is
opportunity
general.
to rebut.
Allow him.
It's general.
Wait.
If the chief comes home with a weird haircut, what do you expect his subjects to do?
Godwin, you
He's
need
our
to be
senior
wrapping up
here.
fast.
No,
He's
no,
our
you don't
senior
want
here,
me. You-
and he's
you
doing
are
the
allowing
projection
Congress
more
to
than any other person.
But you see, the point I'm making is that
Quoting and
where, for instance, in the past, you make commitment, we'll reduce this tax, or we are opposed to this form of taxation. You get the opportunity and say, no, look, on the basis of our expenditure, we need to rope in more money, either by increasing the tax base or the net, the rates. You take all of this together only because you need to meet very critical expenditures. Look, if tomorrow,
Like taxation
in the
of
unlikely,
cattle
hold
and
on,
condoms.
by which no longer
Critical.
exists.
Yes.
Which no longer
You thought
exists.
it
So
was
let's make,
critical.
no,
Okay.
don't make it look like
thought
we
it
are
was
still
critical.
taxing cutlasses. That's unfair. You know that.
No, you did it.
No, but you know, no,
It's
but
no
it
longer
has
there,
long
it's been-
gone.
yes.
So why you
If
make
you are
it
no
taxing
look
longer
like
there.
financial
Oh,
services,
please.
17.5%
You have
financial
to
services.
Please
Let me
allow
say
him.
we
He has
remove it.
one
What is the
minute.
crime?
What is the crime?
Honorable,
Put our
please.
big brother in order.
Allow Godwin.
No, he knows why he's interjecting.
Oh, how?
But you see,
I can't
because you are
believe
deceiving
Congress
the
is
public.
talking
No,
about
what
interjection. You are watching New Day and listening to New Day Saturday edition. Honorable, please, we are back. Let me introduce the next topic and then we can carry on with our conversations. So this is New Day Saturday edition coming to you live from TV3. It's heated in here and they can't wait to start talking about this. But we are live on TV3, live on 3FM 92.7, also live on Connect 97.1 in Takrade, and we're streaming live on the internet at 3news.com. I guess you can gather from the movement in here that we're moving on to some interesting conversations. We're moving on to the campaign trail and what's happening there. So the president for the second time is calling the NPP flag bearer Nana Addo to a debate. He says, come, let's debate and sort things out. Let's set the record straight on a number of issues. But you do recall that the IEA, earlier on in the year, and the IEA is, an independent civil society organization, a think tank that is known to organize presidential debates, I mean, since 2000. Earlier in the year, they put out their program of activities and indeed indicated that there was going to be, as usual, presidential debates. But the NDC rejected that and said they were never going to partake or participate in any IEA presidential debates. So now that the president is calling for this debate, I am just wondering, on which platform would such a debate happen if indeed the flag bearer of NPP does agree to any debate? But before that, there's the issue about the 170 questions the NPP is asking the president to answer before this whole conversation about a debate can actually happen. Honorable,
Well,
what's going to happen? Debate or no debate?
Oh, thank you so much. Presidential debates are very necessary. Indeed, we've all watched the 3 debates in the US. Indeed, 4, because one of them was for the running mates.
Right.
They are very necessary because beyond manifesto, you need to get those who are aspiring to lead the nation to tell the whole world what they are capable of doing. And indeed, you even have a setting where people are picked and asked to fill in questions. So it's a very necessary thing. And for our democracy, before 2000, it wasn't happening because President Rawlings was not interested in debating anybody. But after 2000, even during the 2000 campaign, when there was first presidential debate, the NDC opted out. Osamo's had his own media people and then got his own people to chair and all those things. Incidentally, and Dr. Mensah, who chaired, is now the boss of IEA. Now, thankfully, IEA has taken over this mantle to ensure that we have such debates. The problem usually had been who should really be involved in a debate, because you should know that we have parties in Parliament and parties outside Parliament. Those who have secured seats in Parliament and those who are quite new or those who have not managed to get any seats in Parliament. If you remember, in 2012, the NDC decided not to get involved in the debate. The then presidential candidate and sitting president had to defy his whole party and went for the debate. Even before the debate had concluded, they were testing all over the place, doing their own opinion polls that President Mahama had won the debate, even when they hadn't finished. And even the bizarre aspect of it is that after the debate, one of the main moderators became a cabinet minister in President Mahama's government. Now, IEA wanted to continue with this process for 2016. They brought out the program, modalities, and everything. Even before they concluded, the NDC, as a party, descended on IEA. Said they've never trusted them, they insulted them. Very, very unfortunate. And then somehow managed to get the president along that I'm not interested in any debate. So the other parties, what we needed to do was to carry on with our business, knowing that the incumbent, the sitting president, the man who has been vice president for 4 years and has been president for, or in fact, vice president for 3.5 years and president for 4.5 years, was not interested in debating anybody, not the one who will be coughing throughout the debate or the others who will be making very cogent submissions. So we've carried on. We've moved on so far that with weeks to elections, we start hearing the president saying that no, what the running mate of Nana Addo is saying and what Nana himself is saying, I need to answer them. Go ahead and answer them.
In fact, he wants both of them.
Well, I had and answer them. Now you are saying that I need to debate them so that I'll respond to what they are saying. Meanwhile, you have a whole vice president saying that of the 170 or so issues that Dr. Bawumia raised, I've been advised not to respond because it's political. As if where he's sitting is not political. And that at every rally I'll answer one. So he needs 170 rallies to be able to answer all these issues. But the reality is that it's so unfortunate. It's so unfortunate that at this stage of our democracy, you have a president saying, backed forcefully by his party, that I'm not interested in debate.
Oh.
Because
When I watch, that's what you said. No, we never said.
That's by the IEA.
Honorable.
By the IEA. That's it.
They didn't provide any alternative.
Let that be factual.
Yes.
Look,
By the IEA.
in America,
Let him
with
finish.
America, we've had moderation from Fox, which is known to be pro-Republican, and then from CNN, which is deemed to be pro-Democrat.
No, those people
And then-
are not representing those media houses.
No, but
They were
no.
not, so don't say
It's
that.
a moderator,
but-
but not
Yes,
the
from, yes,
Yes.
but from,
So
from
my lady here
But-
can be the moderator between
The
President
politics-
Mahama
Yes.
and
No, wait.
I'm just giving you.
No, wait.
I'm
Just
just
a
giving you
minute.
the background.
Take it up.
I'm just giving you the background in
You
America.
never know.
They have listen.
Wait a minute.
Get to your
Please
turn.
allow Honorable to finish.
I'm just-
So yes,
So
it's
these
a fact.
boys,
The
they are still
NDC
boys.
rejected
They are still boys.
any
When you get
participation
when you get
whatsoever
welcome. When I
in.
get that you welcome.
We are all that is.
Yes, we are all that is.
Yes, we are all that
Honorable,
is.
please,
But
yes.
I'm
Honorable,
paying.
please carry on.
I'm paying university fees for 2 children. If you don't know,
Wrap up for us and then yes, I'll move on to the other
that's
point.
why I say we are still boys. I'm saying that they've come to accept the tradition in America and serving them so well, and you dare not say that you not go for such a
From
debate.
1960.
You dare not say that you're not going for such debate. So if we think that this tradition will serve us well, why are we flip-flopping? One moment we will go, next moment we won't go. When you see that the tide is against you, you say, bring it on, come for debate.
Comrade, please.
You understand?
Have your turn,
I
please.
can tell you on authority that if Nana Addo were to ask me today, I will tell him, save your breath. Don't waste your time.
But the bread is
Continue.
So you certainly-
Continue with your campaign. You are doing so well. You are way ahead of this incumbent who thinks that he is living in his own island and thinks that Ghana is now a sweet haven. Go on and do your campaign. The masses are believing what you are saying. Don't get distracted with what is being introduced now. So I don't think that Nana Addo should be interested in what President Mahama is offering. On what terms? Just sit on radio and say, come for debate. Then Nana Addo gets up and runs that I'm coming for debate. No, we should move ahead and be more organized than what is happening now.
Very
It's
well.
so unfortunate
Honorable,
that
thank you. So
it's coming
Edison,
at this time.
on what platform does the president envisage such a debate would happen? Because I mean, really, historically, is the IEA that's been doing this?
There's nothing like
What?
historical,
Yes.
my lady.
No, but
With
you're
respect.
looking at
no,
the
no, my
context
lady,
and-
with respect. We have had how many elections so far? This will be the
The
seventh.
seventh, yes,
And how many has the IEA moderated?
since 2000.
And in any case, it's not even what you call, there is no law backing it.
No,
It
I'm
is
just
by the-
asking a
the
question.
party.
Yes, there's no
So
law
I am
backing it,
even
but that's a
saying that
tradition.
today,
But that's a
today-
tradition
No, cancel,
from
hold on.
2000.
Cancel, hold on. You, today, I'm throwing the challenge to you.
No, it's not about the
No,
challenge.
hold
I'm just
on.
asking
No,
a question.
just hold. You don't
I'm
want to
asking
hear.
a question.
No, hear me out. That's
don't want
all.
to answer my
That's
question.
all. What I'm simply saying is that the way you have kept all of us, listen, no, 4 men, you kept us in check, moderated this program beautifully.
And now-
I strongly
The only
believe
thing
that.
is that you couldn't prevent Honorable Ibu
Comrade, please.
ejecting.
Very well.
Right.
But all,
It's
no,
good.
all
It's
I'm
good
saying,
on
all I'm saying is that, all I'm saying
Yeah,
is
that's
that
my comment.
we have gotten to a point where I strongly believe that we need this debate. The NDC never said we don't want debate. In fact,
You declined to participate on the
your
IEA
own
presidential
colleague,
debate
your
on the
own
platform.
colleague, Bridget, had interviewed the president much earlier, where the president said, you know what, my main competitor in this election is Nana Addo. Together with his running mate, they have put a lot of misinformation out there. They believe that is the accurate state of affairs. I, as president, believe that these are not true. So I want either Baumia or Nana Addo himself, any
Or
of them.
both.
I want to
Or
stand toe
both.
to toe with them,
Or
put
both.
the issues in their
And
perspective.
who's to convene that platform is the question. I
No,
mean, how do you?
that is why I'm saying that where you are now,
No,
it's just
but
a
that
matter.
would take me to
No,
decide.
you see,
to do
no,
it.
you see, I do not want a situation where it is deep.
I want a match.
Hold
Where is
on.
the
No,
venue?
let's
Hold
be back
on.
on
Oh,
here.
can
want
I,
the
can I
Please
speak?
carry on.
Can I
Please
speak?
carry on. Carry on.
What I do not want is a situation where we make it appear that the IEA has a monopoly.
That's why I'm asking a simple question.
In fact,
okay,
as
not
we
the
speak,
IEA. Which
the
platform?
National Commission for Civic Education
More
can do it.
better than I.
In fact, the platform under which we are speaking, TV3, can do just 90 minutes between
don't
President
bring
Mahama.
TV3.
No,
The
TV3.
president is saying that the whole media is against you.
Can-
No,
No,
please.
no, please.
So don't
No,
bring it
Honorable,
to
please
the
allow.
The
Honorable,
president is saying
Honorable,
that
just allow
Honorable.
me.
the media is blocking his good
Honorable,
deeds.
please.
Honorable, just
No.
allow
He
me.
said that.
He never
You
said
know, what I'm saying is that the NDC made a point that we have always had an engagement with the IEA. Now, this engagement with the IEA has been on mutual respect. Now, where the IEA decides to do an engagement without consulting us, we consider it to be great disrespect. On the basis of this, we are unable to deal with them. It does not mean that we do not want to debate. In fact, nowhere in the NDC statement was it said that we are not ready for a debate. In fact, our president, your president, his president, President John Dramani Mahama, had demonstrated fortitude and that stamina to resolve any issue and explain. Look, I always make, and I pride myself with this, that the president we have is a president.
Honorable, allow him.
It's a president. You see, this is a president who has control of what is happening. I mean, this is a president who is not clueless about what is happening. You don't want to listen?
No, I'm listening.
Okay.
Listen, we are trying to figure out how this debate would pan out. First of all, you need to look at how it's to be convened, perhaps when, and other matters. So I'm asking,
my lady, do you know that as we speak,
when the president was calling out what platform was he looking at?
That's the platform. I was giving you an answer.
Yes.
The platform I gave you is this. This is a beautiful platform for it, regardless. But there's a more fundamental problem. Our friends say we have refused to go to a debate. The MPP agreed to an encounter. That encounter is just a question and answer thing. As we speak, what has happened to the encounter by Nana Addo with the IEA? No, I am making this point, and I was surprised. I was surprised that I'm surprised that in speaking, my honorable senior here made the point that, you know what, the last IEA platform, somebody out of that platform is now a minister. I strongly believe that when it
is a beneficiary.
Please, yes.
The more fundamental problem is that
the minister not
the mere fact that
first cabinet appointment. Honorable, please allow Godwin to finish. Yes, allow Godwin and allow me.
No, what I'm saying is that you should be high moderation because first cabinet appointment.
You know,
Godwin is on the floor.
Hold on. Hold on. I strongly believe that.
But she's deliberate.
No.
Honorable Mutala, just
please allow Godwin.
The point I'm making is that as we speak, I cannot say that because my now learned friend, Upon Nkrumah, is a parliamentary candidate of the MP.
You lose anyway.
He was influenced by reason at the time when he was moderating. Because I saw.
I mean, we don't have to go to that.
No, you don't want to listen to me. Just a minute. What I saw is that even the debate, we have said that the best opportunity for the good people of this country is to have the opportunity to assess the two principal political parties on the strength of what they can deliver.
Very well.
So that, in this case, what it does is that, I mean, Nana Addo is a lawyer. I think that he should not be, afraid of a debate.
Very well. Your point is made.
So he should come and face President John Dramani. It's a simple debate. So that now they will put your lies to cross-examination. And you get well badly.
No.
Cross-examination.
Yes. Well made, Godwin.
And
can we move on?
No, hold on.
Let's have
30 seconds.
Richard,
do you know that the biggest
your
fear they
take on
have
this
now
issue.
is the fact that Nana Addo can't stand any
please. You're carrying on.
Okay.
I'm going to quote portions of a publication by the PCF on the 27th of June 2016 on the NDC not debating position on the
position.
Oh yes, please. No. It's your quotations. They are all in quotation marks.
Comrade, please. He's speaking. Let him speak, and then you can respond when you have your turn to speak.
Look, and I'm quoting. I'm going to take about 2 or 3 paragraphs. When the IEA launched the 2016 edition of the presidential debate, provided justification, and in quotes, that the preamble of the 1992 Constitution of Ghana and its first article opposes the sovereignty of Ghana in the will of the people of Ghana, and that the debates are an expression of that sovereignty. From the onset, it must be made clear that the Constitution does not in any provision make it mandatory for either political parties or individual aspirants for high public offices to engage in formal debates organized by the IEA or, for that matter, any other institution. there are many ways candidates can put their cases, messages before electors, and this depends on their strategies and constraints. Televised debates are neither sacrosanct nor foolproof. Indeed, over the years, televised political debates have developed into fully fledged reality shows where aspirants are pitted against one another and in their desire to score knockout points, exhibit nothing but nastiness in the form of verbal pugilism. This is what the NDC...
Was it a statement?
No, we want to
So
know first.
this
I want
is
to know
from...
first.
Yes, this is the NDC's position.
Please.
Published... Oh,
No,
Can I even make the
Honourable.
point?
Yes, carry on, Richard.
Yes. Published by Peace FM on the 27th of June. You can go to their website and please read
Honourable,
it.
you can respond
Now,
when you have your
know
turn,
something.
please. Allow him to land
in
and then we
both
carry on.
Tamaklo made allusions to aspects of this. That look, in fact, it is not a constitutional.
It's not backed by law. that's
By
what
law,
said.
he said it.
No, the
Basically,
platform.
There's an IEA platform.
you see,
that, yes.
yes, the IEA. So why does President Mahama get to choose the platform on which we should have the debate? He doesn't want IEA. Then he wants who? The NCC. And then they went and pushed the NCC chair, and he was also out there messing himself up at the end of the day. You have never had any experience in organizing a debate, and we were not going to try you for the first time. So who should then organize? Today, you are suggesting TV3. Yesterday, I think they were suggesting the election, is it IEB or something? EIB. Some are suggesting all sort of funny stuff. What this brings to mind is that, look, the US debates, if you look at how it is done, it is organized by an independent presidential debate commission, okay? And it is not sponsored by the state. These are independent people whose views or political standings are not publicly known. And for me, what this has brought into focus is the fact that we should be looking at, because seriously what the president and the NDC have done is to damage the IEA brand. They have run it down. And so IEA doing any further presidential debate will have question marks around it. So my suggestion is this. Going forward, I think we need to have a presidential debate commission that is independent of any of the parties or government, that is independently funded, that has a program, okay, that when we are going into election year, they will roll out the program and then sit with all the political parties and agree on a format. If we're going to have, and in this instance, the president sees Nana as his main contender. I agree. And so maybe the debate should focus on just the two majority parties. If we agree, in the instance of the US, if you do not attain 15% in opinion polls, you don't qualify to be part of the debate. And most of the cases, it's just the two, the Democrats and the Republicans, who end up doing it. And so we need to streamline all these things, and I think we need to have an independent body doing that going forward. But this year, it is not going to happen. Mark my words, Abina. The president cannot pick and choose when he should have a debate. 3 months ago, it was put to him. He said he wouldn't debate on that platform. We have 45 days as we speak. We roll out our program. We are on the ground campaigning, and all of a sudden, it dawns on the president that the media is against him, just like Donald Trump is out there preaching. Okay? Then, please, it's my opinion.
Never said the media is against him.
He says the president.
No. But please, let's take it. So yes, the fact the president has said, complained about some media houses
spearheaded by Joy FM.
Please wrap up. No.
Spearheaded those lies. But they did.
Please.
Joy FM carried it as a news item. So it's Joy FM. They carried it as a news item.
Okay, wait a minute.
So I'm not making a statement that is not out there.
You can
And you
speak,
come
but
back
let
and say that they have
Godwin,
endorsed.
please,
They lied.
Godwin and Conway, please allow. Richard, please wrap up. Honorable gentlemen, please.
One endorsement, one
Richard is
Okay,
speaking.
so the point
Allow
is this. Three months ago, the president was not ready for a debate. What has suddenly dawned on him that 45 days to the election, he wants a debate. And he thinks that all the other candidates should be set aside. and that you have Nana Addo one-on-one, and that he needs to make certain corrections. You know what? When
Please be wrapping up.
When Dr. Bawumia held his public lecture, it was not a debate. He organized a public lecture and brought out what the economy is going through. You have had over 1 month, in actual fact, to come and address it. The president,
Please, no interjection.
oh please, the president and his vice have turned down the opportunity several times to address the questions. Dr. Bawumia has since tabulated 170 questions for you. You see, you are complaining about Dr. Bawumia. Abina, please. They've been interjecting.
You can't continue like this. It's not fair. It's not fair to Richard. He's on the floor.
Abina, because I want our viewers to get
exactly.
what
And when
you're
you're
saying.
talking about
I don't want to talk. So when he's talking, I keep quiet, and they are eating into my time. Point is that the president, whatever he has seen today that makes him want a debate, he should go and address it to the masses. We are busy telling people what is happening. You know what? The president went into to my constituency. Abina, my constituency, if you are going to go to my constituency,
just a minute more for you to wrap up. Please.
To go to my constituency, if you are going to my section of the constituency, that is my village, Jambwai, aka Sabonjida, that is from Salaga. Okay? A journey that should take you approximately 20 minutes will take you about 3 hours because of the nature of the road. The district capital is Pandai. Now, to go to Pandai from where I am, I have to go through Salaga to Bimbila, to Wulinsi, and then to Bimbila before I get to Pandai. Because the constituency has been cut off. Great. Due to rain. You know, no, my time is not up.
Oh, it's not.
Point is this, Abina, the president, when he had the opportunity to address this, you know how he did it?
I'm taking messages.
He went by helicopter.
Yes. So Nana Addo get the opportunity.
Please allow me to read messages.
Please.
Allow me to read messages.
He landed in Kumindi with a helicopter, and then asked my village people to swim across the water to him, to come and listen to him. And I'm saying that when he gets the opportunity, he should go and address them. He doesn't need a debate.
Let me take some messages.
He doesn't need a debate to tell my constituents that they are in a mess and they need to get out of it.
Now I'm taking messages for viewers and listeners. Allow me to bring in viewers and listeners. Please, people are watching. Your constituents are watching. Let me bring in the viewers and listeners. This one says, kindly speak out for some of us about our 3-year salary arrears with NADMO. Please, we have borrowed money to live for the days. This is too much for us to bear as a people. Apparently, NADMO has issues with the payment of salaries. And so they're putting up about 3 or 4 messages have come through this morning. So perhaps NADMO, I hope you're listening. I'm proud of the works of TV3, however, speak on NADMO and pay 3 years arrears. Again, we are owing people and they are on us as well, coming in from different texters. Now that the president is losing the election, he wants a debate to help him. We, the NPP,
help him.
Now please tolerate other people's views. This is their view, and I'm reading. Allow that. Now that the president is losing the election, he wants a debate to help him. We, the NPP, strategically will refuse. We are winning. This is Abner Chiwa in Tema. From Gatuso Bekwai, it says, oh, it's very funny that President Mahama is calling for a debate. Nana will never do any debate. NPP will win come December 7 elections by 53.7%. Another one saying, it's not about debating Nana. He should go, please allow me, he should go and debate with the teacher, trainees, nurses, NHIS, and the Ghana economy and forget telling lies. The debate is change. This is from Baba Kingdom in Sakogu. It says, is it democratically right or constitutional for a president to call an opposition leader for a debate? I want to know. We'll answer that. Honorable, I'll leave that to you. If Mr. President wants to make Nana's facts as spurious, I think it should be done on political or campaign platform and not a debate. This is Ike in Ashaiman. Kofi Agbemava in Keta says, it's funny how NPP and their allies are trying to run away from JM and the debate using the IEA debate rejection by the NDC. What happened to the scheduled debate that Nana Akufo-Addo was supposed to have with the IEA some time ago? Akufo-Addo and the NPP are simply not ready for the debate. Abna, is the NPP telling Ghanaians that someone being a vice president means he's in the position to know and lead this nation well? Then the question here is, why did they deny the late Ali Mahama from leading the NPP in 2006? This is Kosame and Nima. I will take the last one. It says, this Mahama-led administration have made me believe that whatever promise Nana Addo and the NPP have made is double. I'm not sure what that word is, but I'm going on. It says, when the NPP promised free SHS education, the NDC said they cannot do, and now the NDC says they can do it, but are struggling to implement it. Cheap propaganda from this government. This is Amando in Obuasi. Okay, Honorable, I'm coming to you for your submission on this debate issue.
Listen to the question.
The thing is, so I think we all understand or agree that presidential debates are essential.
Well,
no two ways about that. There's no doubt about that. So, question is, how is the president? I asked Edwiji that question. He didn't answer, so I'm throwing it back to you. How is the president envisaging this debate to pan out? On which platform? I just want to know.
Yes.
Well, let me just say that no particular institution has the monopoly over
Exactly.
debates.
So how?
And in fact, if we want to look at state institutions that have lived time, that have existed all the political parties, and you go and look at even those who manage the affairs of those institutions, some of whom were appointed by former President Rawlings, some were appointed by President Kufuor, some were appointed by Prof. Mills, and probably some would have been appointed by President Mahama. It's the NCC. So if it has to do with credibility and credibility, I think that the NCC has it more than IEA.
But is the NCC going to?
Let me finish.
No, I'm asking. It's
so
just
so first and foremost, it's been
question.
established unequivocally that the NDC and His Excellency the President never said they were not going to participate in any debate, because that is the narrative. Sadly, Honorable Obi Amwa was trying to push, saying that, no, that is why I asked a simple question about that statement. Now, you are telling us that you are reading from the website of Peace FM, and I wanted to know, please, and I wanted to know.
Okay, but Honorable, maybe we can help the conversation here. Let's facilitate it. The NDC categorically rejected any debate on the IEA platform. That is a fact.
But listen, he can't just push something.
No, I'm helping the conversation. That's why I'm here.
Also,
that is a fact.
I also want to
or
help.
not.
I also want to help the conversation.
Okay.
He should tell us: is it a statement that was issued, which was published by Peace FM? Was it an NDC statement? Yes. Was it a statement issued by government? Tell us.
That's why I'm moving
when,
on.
When was it issued?
Let's not get into this.
I will
Honorable, we don't need this.
I will proceed.
So carry on, yes. Honorable, please carry on.
I will proceed, but I would want him to provide evidence after I finish speaking.
Well, he can
so that he tell us when was the issue statement.
He can provide it later on.
I'm not good.
27th June 2006.
NDC party issued a statement.
I'm telling you.
I'm asking you.
Honorable Mutala, please. Why were you actually your time is
to do the debate?
Well,
it is because of Kofi Adams. And you provided that reason. And Kofi Adams has publicly said that you don't need a debate to win an election.
Honorable is on the floor.
You don't need a debate. Why do you think that all of a sudden needs a debate?
No. You cannot be talking about each other.
People that also need a debate.
This platform.
What is good for the goose is good for the gander.
You're watching and listening to New Day Saturday edition, and we'll be going on to wrap up on the conversation about the debate challenge thrown by the president to the flag bearer of the NPP. But before that, let me take some few messages and then we go on. This is saying that this Mahama-led administration, I took this. This year election is not about debate, but we are going to look at our own self and our current condition and vote. Nana for Ghana, Dr. Mahama, is that it? For Tamale Central. And this is coming from Tualut in Tamale. Whether debate or no debate, the president is going to win hands down. And this is saying JM Twaso from Apandago Peter in Kumasi. Diamond Ashon from Teshi says, the major issue bothering Ghanaians going into this election is the economy. You and I know that the economic management team is headed by the vice president. So why is the president not calling for a vice presidential debate on the economy? You can't eat your cake and have it. Interesting days ahead. Let each presidential candidate focus on their own campaign and not on seeking a debate. The electorates are always aware. This is Yao from Tema. Last one saying, how many times has Nana Addo been to Kumasi or Ashanti region? Because he knows this time we the Ashantis are not going to vote simply because NPP is a stronghold. We will vote based on development. This is Mahatma. No, he says Mahama Twaso. Great. So, Honorable, you're wrapping up on the conversation about the debate or not to debate. I was asking a question.
I started the interjection.
I mean, you will wrap up
that
segment.
Yes, thank you, Abuna. Abuna has been very nice to me today because when others were interjecting, I was very quiet. It's been established that what my brother read was not a statement from the NDC. It's been established. But let me say that there is nothing wrong with debating. Now, if President Mahama and the NDC said they were not willing to participate in any debate organized by IEA and gave reasons why we were unwilling to participate in it, and the reasons were simple. Even in the US elections and their presidential debate, before they come out with the modalities of the debate, even the candidates, the moderators, they would have sat with all the stakeholders, both the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. They determine who are going to be the moderators. The only thing they don't decide are the questions that they are going to ask. But however, they may even know the kind of questions. If it is going to be on foreign policy, if it is going to be on the economy, if it is going to be of security, they agree. And they know that we're going to have this debate on this consensus building. We refuse to participate in the IEA's debate because all these things were not done. Contrary to the opposition, they came out trying to justify, and we proved them. I remember Honorable Hannah even said, no, you don't communicate with me, you communicate with the party.
And in fact, you said it was the 2012.
Exactly, you don't communicate even with me, you communicate with the party.
This time was different from the previous years?
Yes, so I'm saying that it was one, they showed gross disrespect and arrogance. Even when Jane says was extremely arrogant in her response. Even when the NCC came out and said that, look, they were going to say the NCC doesn't have, that their mandate, their responsibility is to ensure they talk about civic education. And the simple question that people also ask was, is it the responsibility of IE? Now, we refuse to do that. The Gombes have a proverb that what it simply means is that, look, I want to go to Seka. And then they sent me to GBC.
What you said, there was no circle there.
Oh, there is. You see, yes, I don't hear a didn't hear a breathe. So the point, Abuna, I wanted to go to Seka. Or I wanted to go to GBC. And then, Honorable says, could you kindly get me something at Circle? It's on the way. So for me, they should even be happy. If you have 71 or million questions, you have an opportunity, and the president is willing to debate not only Nana Addo, both Nana Addo and Baumia combined. You know why? You have an opportunity to explain to the people of this. By the way, the IEA debate, which they said they were going to participate, they have postponed it severally. You see, if you live in Syria and you do not know that Aleppo is under siege, that is your own headache. When we get to Damascus, we'll begin to appreciate the problems in Syria. Now, if you have postponed repeatedly, they would say, they will not be able to participate in this today, the IEA encounter. This is not even debate. An encounter to sell your message. And you have unabatedly postponed that. Look, I threw a challenge to my opponent in Tamale, that he should come and we debate. By the way, you have radio stations and TV stations. In fact, TV3. I have watched TV3 where you bring in opponents, the parliamentary candidates. I think that, look, TV3 can do that. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. You have an opportunity. For me, refusing to participate in such a debate with His Excellency the President is a gross disrespect shown to the people of this country by the MPP. Gross disrespect. Which you did. We never can finish. We never said we will not debate. We never said that.
But how is
Hold on. We said, look, we have thrown a challenge. We have thrown a challenge. We have thrown. Honorable Obiamwa, I beg you. Honorable Obiamwa, I beg you.
Yes, comrade.
This is my territory. Let me keep my territory. I'm saying absolutely.
No, he's going to explain
we don't
that,
need to.
please.
We have made a public pronouncement. Why? We have made a public pronouncement, and we say that we want to debate you. Now you have had time to respond to those statements, yet you sit down and you tell me that have you written to us? We throw a challenge, you accept the challenge, and then we'll then sit down together and find a medium through which we can engage in such an encounter. Yes, we sit down, like I said, and given the example.
Please. Honorable and Godwin, West Side people, I think they are interjecting too much. Yes, please.
I'm happy Abena come to my rescue. I'm happy that Honorable Obiamwa is interjecting unnecessarily. So I'm saying that we are calling for a debate, but I can assure MPP that we will win the elections not less than 53 to 54%. The reason is simple. He claimed that they are busy campaigning. I saw a picture where the actor Ajako, the actor I love so much. He appeared on top of a car. Sometimes Nana Addo moved with Baumia. They all appear. You wonder who is even the candidate. Frankly speaking, they move on the same campaign.
But how does,
it does matter. It does matter. It does matter. You look. Let me tell you, the only presidential candidate who will be on the ballot paper is Nana Addo. I'll tell you an interesting story. A lot of the NPP's candidates, they have, particularly in northern Ghana, and you can they call them Kolkwayata. You find the candidate, my big brother, Mr. Sommer. Then you have Baumia. Then you have Nana Addo. Who is the candidate? What you do, you are advertising the parliamentary candidate and the presidential candidate, and that is why, even in our constituencies, you have the presidential candidate and you have the parliamentary candidate. Even when they are moving, Nana Addo comes out, Baumia comes out, sometimes Ajako also comes out. You wonder who at all is representing the MPP.
We will win the elections.
We will win the elections. You know why? It does matter. It does matter. He's saying that. Well, I'm just pointing it out.
You can't talk over each other. Nobody hears you.
I am on the floor. You see, when we said it became an issue with them. Today we are doing, and it is an issue with them. The point is that they simply don't have a message. They simply indeed have lost touch. Please, and that is why we say we have
the message. We don't have a message. How does it bother you?
I am quiet.
Even how we do our
I am quiet.
You don't know who our presidential candidate is.
30 seconds more and then you go. Let him land, please.
Are you okay?
Honorable.
Okay, go ahead. And by the way, if you give your examples and you say that because of the road in your area is ABCD, then you should leave MPP. When they had the opportunity to govern 8 years, did they construct bridges and NDC went and destroyed those bridges? Did we go and destroy those bridges?
We are moving on.
By the way, can I finish?
And they asphalted it.
Richard.
You stopped the contract.
Richard, please.
You stopped the contract.
Please, gentlemen.
MPP started the road to
No, Richard.
We did 37 miles.
Richard, allow me.
You have refused to do it.
Richard, allow me, please.
Thank you, Abena, for ensuring sanity.
We can't have you talk over each other like that. It's not helpful. It's not helpful.
You invited me.
We are moving on to the issue
about my last point.
The EC and the multiplicity of suits coming against it. And please, moving forward, let's do some service to listeners and viewers. Please, we can't.
You should be telling Richard and Honorable Obiamwa.
Everybody here.
Am I? When I was talking and they were interjecting.
So, we will be moving on to look at that particular issue now, and then we carry on. So, after the disqualifications of the 12 presidential candidates, yes, the EC currently has 3 suits pending against it, and we are just about, 45 days to the elections. How are we going to manage the situation, Honorable?
Well, we are in a very serious and difficult situation. Nobody should underestimate the kind of challenges we are likely to face, given what is happening now. As we speak, when it comes to presidential, even though the EC has sanctioned 4 candidates, 3 from the major parties and 1 independent, we are not certain whether it's only the 4 whose names will be on the statement of pool or the constituency summary sheet. And it's very worrying because we need to know so that EC can even go ahead to print
ballot sheets,
not only the ballot sheets. I have before me the presidential elections constituency results summary sheet. And you've listed 8 candidates, including the independent Jacob Oseyebo.
No,
now until
Abu Sakara obviously should know that there's a problem there.
But there's a previous one.
2012 one that I'm showing.
Yes.
So what's your worry about?
So Sakara, don't create the impression as though It
No,
cannot be
he,
done.
He wasn't even listening to me.
No,
I said I have
No.
8. You're not listening.
No.
It's because you don't want to listen.
No, look,
I'm saying that if I have before me the result sheet, have you
needs
done
to be
any?
printed
Have you done any
for this.
2016?
We haven't, and that's what he's saying. That we
This
need
is
to be printed.
2012. Listen.
Allow him to finish, and
This
then
man-
you can come in, please.
the West. The West end.
I'm saying that as we speak, apart from the ballot papers that you were talking about, EC has to print the names of presidential candidates on other documents, very vital ones, before the elections can proceed. But with the court issues now, we don't know how soon this will be addressed. So it's very worrying, to the extent that because the EC thought it was getting late, it had to rush in to get the parties to ballot for parliamentary candidates, which I felt couldn't change anything, because as I hear, MPP is number 5 on the ballot. If you come to my constituency, the candidates are only 3. So my number 5 that you are talking about, I will end up being number 2 in Ekapim South, because we are 3, NDC, MPP, CPP, and NDC comes ahead of MPP for the general ballot. NDC is 3, MPP is 5, CPP is way down. So if you have to arrange them, it means in Ekapim South it will be NDC first, and MPP second, yes. CPP third. Yes. So my number 5 position, how does it come in? Ideally, what we usually do is to get the presidential candidates to ballot. Then we go along with the parliamentary. That's what we've been doing since 1992. In fact, since 1996, because 1992, the elections were separate. But here is a situation, because of the court issues, they are forced to start with parliamentary. And it's a bizarre situation, because of the 17 who filed a nomination that you have thrown 13 out. If you're supposed to wait for the court to decide, and it's so close to December 7th, I wonder how you're going to manage all this. And we cannot change the December date. And this is an institution which wanted to even hold elections on November 7th. And look at the situation we are in. So the courts would have to sit 24 hours. The courts will have to take very drastic decisions. That's why even the EC...
70 specialized courts that have been set up.
Yes, that's why the EC even had to apply for
abridgment
of time, because they knew the implications.
It's affecting the schedule.
It's not just saying that I've disqualified you or you are in, because it has implications.
Very well, Honourable. Let me move on to Tamaklo here. Currently, what we are witnessing is that, and that's coming from, this posture of, yes, we're going to enforce the laws, you can go to court if you're aggrieved by our decisions. Moving forward, do you think that is an effective posture or an appropriate posture?
I think that what we should be asking is whether or not the decisions taken by the Electoral Commission relative to these disqualifications are founded in law.
But which is what is before the courts now?
No,
at least 3 of them, so we can't really...
but that's... No, I'm not coming to litigate. I'm simply saying that, at least for now, the Electoral Commission has taken a decision. In the mind of the Electoral Commission, their decision is founded in law. Others have a different position.
Exactly, which is yet to be determined.
And that a judge at the end of the day must determine. What we should all have at the back of our mind is that the law permits that if you have a grievance, you should go to court. We have also fixed December the 7th for the conduct of this election. I have listened to the Electoral Commission chair make the point that, with all their logistics and everything, the only difficulty they have now is about the presidential. And know that the presidential election is one constituency. So even if tomorrow you come out with the balloting or the list, within 2 days you can print all, because you don't change it according to constituencies. However, for parliamentary election, and my senior here has been with this electoral management process for a long time. He represents MPP at the IPAC and others. He knows that when it comes to printing or doing the constituency one, it's more detailed and more confusing than the overall presidential, because there's only one constituency called Ghana. So there's no much of a problem there. Thankfully, Her Ladyship, the Chief Justice, had put up what you call the specialized courts to help with electoral adjudication. And I'm happy that the lawyers for the Electoral Commission have taken time to apply to abridge time in most of these situations. Let the courts ultimately decide what these matters will be. We still can have an election on 7th day. On the question that my senior pointed out, it is not as though when the Electoral Commission made the point to organize election by having Parliament dissolved earlier through the amendment on November the 7th. At least at that time, you cannot tell me that all the 13 persons would have been disqualified if it had happened earlier. So to try to link that to mean that the EC could not have done it November the 7th, for me was not helpful. Knowing very well, in fact, knowing very well that the Electoral Commission was ready, it was the NPP that was not ready.
Very well. Let me move on. Now, it's important for us to remember or keep in mind. Godwin, you're done. Okay. Let's move on. Yes. So that some parliamentary candidates were disqualified, to confirm. And assuming these agreed persons also decide to go to court, then the issue about balloting and the position would also not come in there.
No, do you know that in the 1979 election, Akablemieza was disqualified. He went as far as to the Supreme Court, then Court of Appeal. It never stopped the election of that year going forward.
Very well. So we are looking at the logistics here and everything. So if they are likely to bring suits against the EC, we still have an issue about printing. Are you saying that regardless if it's a day to the time, they can still do that?
In all of these applications, they are injunction. No, remember
education. Yes, very well. Yes.
You know,
land and then we want to the east side.
With respect, some candidates were respectfully disqualified. They went to court, but we still had an election. I'm saying that in most of these motion papers, what I have said, Obiamwa is Obiamwa, you see, what we should all know is that regardless, they all have injunction application in one of these.
Yeah.
So the court will have a determination whether or not the whole process ought to be injuncted. When there is a refusal, it is a go ahead with the other processes regardless. As to the point he made, I strongly believe that those who speak of competence at least should have some due diligence when they are filling their form.
Very well. Let me move on to Richard here. Moving forward.
Yeah, I think.
Do you share the view that it is likely to affect the schedule, or you share Godwin's view that
the point is that come rain or shine, on the 7th we have to have an election. And I'm sure that is not lost on the courts. So they will take a decision definitely. But you see, we are where we are because the EC seems to be doing a one-man show. Okay. And look, we need to have...
No, please. We don't have time.
Look, our democracy is very young. I agree. We need to probably cut out the jokers in quotes in the process. Please. I said Godwin, please. I said in quotes.
Yes.
Please. Look, yeah, we need all those things done. But you see, when you come and it's all of a sudden, there's a shock in the system. And that is what is the aftermath of that shock we are dealing with currently. Honorable was talking about education. You know something? If Nana Addo is #1 on the ballot and all MPP is going to be, it makes it easy for me when I'm communicating about how to vote on the day. Because our people sometimes mix up. We get a lot of spoiled ballots and all those things. So we can use, for instance, the number. That look, when you go for the presidential, is the #1 on the list, or you go for the parliamentary, is #1 on the list, or if it's in the middle, it's in the middle. It makes it easy. It makes it very easy for you to adapt a language, a brand to sell, and then educate the voters on exactly what to do. It makes things easier. With this, it's all mixed up. Now I have to find some a way of selling the presidential candidate separately from the parliamentary candidate. It confuses voters at the end of it because we are not that sophisticated.
Let me move on. Thank you very much. Honorable, do you share his opinion?
Yeah,
does it complicate things?
Yeah, first and foremost, I think that we as the NDC, we think that all those who were disqualified certainly can be jokers. I mean, it's not easy. No, I'm saying that it doesn't matter. We think that PPP and Ndum are not jokers. We think that the APC are not jokers. We think that the PNC, Dr. Edward Mahama and the PNC are not jokers, and we will not describe them as such. As a matter of fact, it is extremely expensive and difficult, running a campaign. Mind you, all these political parties started campaigning not today, even to organize a Congress. Parliamentary primaries, even if you are a candidate, then he knows the amount of money you would spend in participating even in parliamentary primaries. All these things were done by the political parties. The Electoral Commission also thinks that they must apply the law, and based on the what I can describe as a strict application of the law, I can certainly tell. Whatever the case is, I think that Her Lordship, the Chief Justice, and the justices will be aware that we have an exigency and there is the need for something to be done timeously so that we can have these elections. Whatever the case is, I strongly believe that we would have the elections conducted. Whatever the case is, you need to sell a message. But the last point he made, which I agree with him, has to do with the spoiled ballots.
Yes.
In fact, if you look at a lot of the regions, the numbers were huge to the extent that the spoiled ballots.
And that's a concern, yes. But unfortunately, we need to wrap up on the show this morning. It's been exciting here and heated. We've had Honorable Obi Amwa. We've had Godwin Eduji Tamaklo. We've had Richard Nyama and Honorable Murtala Mohammed. It's been exciting, and thank you for spending your Saturday morning with us. We'll see you same time, same place next week. Have a good weekend and a productive week.